Welcome to this week's episode of Work Trucks Upfit My Work Truck, a weekly program that focuses on upfitting. I am Wayne Parm, one of the editors at Work Truck. This week, the topic we'll talk about takes me back to a really great truck I had back in the late 80s, well into, I guess, the mid 90s. And that was just a pretty blue 1987 F-150. The 87s were the first year they came out with a really oversized big square headlights. Don't know if everybody liked that or hated it, but they changed designs every couple of years, and to me it was a great truck. I loved that truck. It was good to me. That was back in the days of vinyl bench seats and stick shifters that sat up this high, felt like this high. And imagine, I only had two doors. I had one on each side. It was just a simple truck, but I was a young guy and that was perfect for me. It had no bell, had no whistles, other than it did have a sliding rear window. And I don't mean a motorized, I mean one that you had to reach back, unclip, slide both sides open. I loved that. Great airflow through the vehicle. But there was one low point in owning that truck. I was in college. My girlfriend and I had just come back from a day trip up to the North Georgia mountains. I parked on campus, went in her dorm for a little bit, hung out with her and some friends. When I came back out, inside of my truck was a wreck. It was kind of a shock at first. I didn't know what happened. And I realized everything we had taken with us on that day trip, gone. Somebody had pried open the sliding window, gone in, I guess unlocked the doors. He just had free access to take everything. Well, the point of my sharing that story is people will steal from you. Now, not everybody's going to steal from you, but some will. A lot of times, especially if they see the opportunity. Now, that happened to me, a long time ago, but I still remember that sense of walking back out and realizing I'd been victimized and my stuff was gone. That was taken out of the cab of the truck. But a far easier place where would-be thieves steal your stuff from is the bed of your truck. The old school way to secure items in the bed of a truck was either put a camper cap on the back, which I did after my break-in, or a locking toolbox, which has its limitations. It takes up some bed space, but also you can only put certain size items in there. But both, back in the day, were good options. However, the process of locking gear up in the bed of your truck has improved through the years, and a company called Leitner Designs has something I really want to share with you today. But first, before we get into talking about the new product, which is called the Gatekeeper, let's take a little look at Leitner Designs. Now, a guy by the name of Bernard Leitner founded Leitner Designs back in 2007. Now, this wasn't intended to make upfit parts for trucks or anything else. The guy loved designing stuff, and he founded the design company to help companies design, engineer, and develop products. Now, this guy Leitner just must have had a brilliant mind at an early age of seeing how things could be assembled and how to create new things. Because at age 15, he rounded up scrap parts from his dad's workshop and I guess elsewhere. And at age 15, built a motorcycle from scratch. Well, again, he started the company in 2007, and then 2014 is really the path that took us to where we are today and what we're talking about. 2014, he built the first Leitner active cargo system. Now, if you picture that, that's a modular truck bed rack system. And, the modularity allows it to accept all kinds of products he designed, but also third-party people. He designed it where it's open to attaching and hanging all different accessories from just about anyone. Move forward a few years later, and in 2019, he unveiled the ACS active cargo system, Forged, which was the second generation. Now, we've all seen this concept. Imagine a pickup truck, beds encased in a framework. You have all kinds of gear pods, fuel carriers, and all kinds of stuff attached to the side. There's a spot to put anything and everything you want to take with you. The thing is, you can still have access to the bed of that truck. Because tailgate only comes up so high, you need a way to secure area above the tailgate. Well, That's their new product, Gatekeeper. And the Gatekeeper is basically a foldable and lockable gate that fits right above the tailgate to seal off that access. You know, we talk about stuff that gets stolen. You know, whether that's valuables, cargo, tool, whatever. You don't want that stuff to walk away when you leave your truck unattended. And so now with Active Cargo System, if you add the Gatekeeper, it's all locked up. Nobody's going to get to it. So let's take a look at the specs on the Gatekeeper. Now, when you think you're going to have to open and handle this above the bed of a truck, you know, maybe your hands are full trying to get something in and out. It's lightweight. It only weighs 15 pounds. You know, it's lightweight because it's made of 3/16 of an inch aluminum, but it still secures everything in the bed of a truck under lock and key. Now, as far as durability, it's zinc plated with a dual stage powder coat. So it's basically maintenance free. And one thing Leitner did with this, he used friction hinges instead of gas struts. We all know how over time gas struts can kind of weaken and not completely do the job like they did when they were brand new. Friction hinges resolve that concern at all. You know, one big thing that Leitner Designs is proud of, it is completely made in the US and they only use US sourced material. So when you're looking for that way to secure items in the bed of a pickup truck, it might be worth checking out what Leitner Designs has to offer, including their latest product, the Gatekeeper. Be sure to check back next week to see what the latest topic, product, or tip will be on Work Truck Upfit My Work Truck. Thank you.